What's going on, everybody? This is Mrs. J Honcho, and I am here today to share some information, more information on my journey, and also just to provide information to you guys about software development and also as a business strategist that I consider myself to be. I always think outside the box, and that's why it goes hand in hand with programming because when you think about a lot of things that I never really understood, like the people before I got into the tech industry as far as programming, I never understood like why do people that have the skill set to make or create certain things, they just don't make it and create it. And then other people that have the time to become a programmer, they don't because of, I guess, I don't know if it's because the lack of understanding, but their perception of it. But at the same time, I look at it like this: you got you got a few options. You can either go to school or be self-taught. If you don't go to school, it's gonna take you, depend on your work ethic. It may take you a few years to learn what you need to learn and be comfortable with it, programming. If you never touch a computer at all. And I'm not saying like being comfortable where you can follow a tutorial. I'm talking about when you actually can come up with a concept and build that concept and put it into an application yourself. I'm saying about close to 2 years. But it just depends too on how much time you put in that time because some people, if you put it in 4 hours a day, it's not gonna take you 2 years. If you're putting in more than like an hour a day, it's not gonna take you to the length of time for someone that's only putting in like a short period of time throughout the whole week. So you have you can either go to school or you can be self-taught. If you're a self-taught developer, if you go to school, you'll be most likely in some kind of debt as far as college tuition. Now, this is crazy though, right? I wish somebody would have told me this, and that's why I'm sharing this with you guys now, is because a lot of people they don't really put the business side and the technical side together when they're programming. And that's why I consider myself as a business strategist because I think outside the box and I have an understanding on the tech part of it, and also I can, man, it's so many different ways where you can do certain things. So I'll give you an example, right? So there's people right now that if you have the skill set, you can create tools that other people use online. Perfect example. If you ever saw a mortgage calculator, somebody created that. Some programmer they created that and they put it online and they're monetizing it with ads that around the calculator. Another example. A Another calculator as far as like a fitness calculator, a BMI calculator. Somebody programmer, they put that together, they put it online and put ads around it. Another example, a gradient calculator or tool. Gradient tool which allows programmers to create a gradient, which is basically you putting two colors together and you're blending them from one on one side, one on the other side, and you putting them together, and it's fading those two colors together. A gradient. some programmer created that and put it online, put ads around it, and is making money from it. A lot of people want to talk about passive income, but there's really not a lot of there's their definition of passive income is different. So with that being said, really passive income to me is when you getting paid off of things that either you created once or is very, very low maintenance. Extremely low maintenance. Like that calculator I was talking about, that's extremely low maintenance. You just got to make sure it's up and running. The server is up and running. That's pretty much it. You don't have no customer support. You don't have to talk to nobody. It pretty much runs by itself. And you're getting paid based on how many times they click on an ad that's on that page. So that's just a few ideas, right? And the other thing is like when you think about other people, like all this stuff, this is so much stuff, like all this stuff that you see online, somebody had to first write it out and create it and come up with a concept and then program it and then deploy it. So you have all these ideas in your head, and the main thing that you have to do is take it step by step. Because this is one thing too that got me when I was first starting out learning programming was that I would look at the big project, I'll look at the full project, and then I'll be trying to figure out everything, like looking at it in the big picture instead of breaking it down in iterations, like breaking it down in the smallest way possible or the smallest steps possible. Because going back to personal development, like you have to start to be great. So that means you have to take one step to be great. It only takes one step. You got to move forward. But if you never take a step, you can never be great. That's the same thing what I apply with programming is like you have to take it step by step. So if you're building out a web application, don't think about, of course you got to write out all the specs of everything of the project, but at the same time start with just the wireframe. Because really if you start with like the wireframe of it and then go from the wireframe of the application and then do a digital mock-up of the application, then you can actually have something that you can look to, a visual thing that you can look at, that you can compare, instead of something, an idea that's in your head that you can't see, you can't move around. And from there, you can use that as your mock-up. And then once you get that how you want it, and then you go and you start the design part, actually using HTML and then using CSS to style it, and then putting in your logic, and then putting in your database if you need a database for whatever project you're working on to collect your data or whatever you're doing with your project. So when you look at it in those steps, then it's easier to attain, or it's easier to break down a project and put a project together when you break it down in those small steps. Small steps. Start with a menu. Start with the hero section, which is the top part of the website. It's like the top image portion of the website, the viewport of the website that you see. So start with that. Build that out one day or 2 days or whatever, however long it takes you. And then move on from there. Add some buttons, right? And then from there, build out the details page, the content section. And then from there, continue until you finish the home page. Perfect. You got one page done. You do the same thing for the next page. But, well, really for me, I like doing the logic last as far as like the database portion because I get to see how the project looks. I mean, some people they do the opposite, but for me, I like to see how it looks and where the data will be displayed at. So if you're doing like a project that has a table, which I mean I'm familiar with a table, but an area that has a list of columns that data will fall into the inputs of it. So just like when you see like a sales spreadsheet, the same order of those columns is what I'm referring to as a table. So if you have a project that has a table on it, then you can still build out the area of that table or the section of where it would be. It's just no data would be there or data would show or dynamically fall into the inputs because you don't have your data connected to it yet. So you still can have it there. So you can still visualize it there and you'll be good to go with that. So, and then after you got all the design part done, you have the mock-ups done, then you go and you add the data in. And then you go and you add your validations and your, um, yeah, add all the rest of that stuff in. Because if you try to do all that and you're not doing it in a certain order and you're not organized when you're putting that project together, for one, you're gonna be more frustrated because most of the time when you're working on a project, you're looking up information on how to fix the issue that you run into. So if you're organized, then it'll be easier for you to get through the project and you can feel like you're moving and progressing forward. And if you stay on, like work on one page at a time and then finish that page and then go to another page, then you can see the progression instead of having like 4 or 5 different pages halfway done and then you going, I mean, you wouldn't really see a progress in that. So and you wouldn't be able to share like what you've done with those what you worked on because half of your page to be done. You don't want to share that with anybody. So at least you'll have one page done and then you can share it with people to give you feedback on those projects. So saying that to say that when you in the tech industry, you're in programming, you're working on projects, be more organized. Also, you have to think outside the box as well. Weigh your options. If you're going to school, I mean, really it's 2021. Unless you're trying to get into like a top tech company, then most companies they don't even require a bachelor's degree to get a job in that company. So it's just mainly your skill set. So as long as you got projects that you work on and that you can display your projects and you can display your ability to be willing to learn and also pass if they have like a whiteboard test, then you should be good to go as far as getting into the tech industry. But mainly you have to have an open mind and weigh your options. You gotta weigh all your options to make sure that you're thinking outside the box continually and that you're using your skills. Even though if you're working for a company, still use your skills and work outside of that company to bring you additional revenue, because one income is too close to none. I'm going to say that again. One income is too close to none. So you want to set yourself up where you have a reserve of income coming in, and you are still using what you learned. So if something happened to where the company start laying off people because they didn't, follow a certain procedure, or they just had to do a lot of layoffs, then you have something to fall back on and won't be worried about and stressing about a lot of things that you have to do when you don't have that. So that's all I want to pretty much share. Your mindset, weigh your options. Also, make sure you focus on your projects. When you're focusing on your projects, make sure you do them in a certain way where you can be more organized with it, and also that will help you with sharing that to people so they can give you feedback, and also continue to learn, because everything is always changing. And never think that just because you don't learn, or that just because you don't know enough in a certain language, that you're not a good enough programmer, because really everybody don't know every single thing about a language. So there's so much stuff that is in the documentation of the languages. No one uses every single thing. They probably use like 10% of the language. So don't think that you are not catching on to it, or that you're not coding fast enough or whatever. That will come with time, and the more you do certain things, you get more familiar with certain things. You have shortcuts that you use. You'll refactor your code. You'll use different codes that would help you as well on other projects that you can pull from, and you have that on the side. But yeah, mainly that's all I wanted to talk about, share about, and definitely, if you are tapped into my channel, click on the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm definitely building out this channel to be more of my business strategist programming channel, where I put both of those together to help people spark that idea and that interest, because a lot of times I don't see that at all, like online at all. Like, it's a few people that I see on YouTube that do it, but I don't see it that often, and I feel like that is needed. And a few people do. I know Joe, he does. Coding Phase, shout out to Coding Phase. But yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna build up this channel and help out as many people as I can, as far as putting business strategies together, and also help people with doing their business LLCs and business formation. That's something that I do as well. So if you need assistance or need help with your business funding as well, I have something for that as well. But mainly business LLC setups, I help with that. I have done that before several times, right? So I have a few other businesses that I have set up as well. So I'm helping as many people as I can. And check out my information below, and I'll definitely help you out with that. And like I said, signing out. All right, you guys. Have a good one.